Have you ever looked back at a situation with a woman and thought, why did I do that? Why did you chase, overextend, apologize too much, or beg for love that wasn't freely given? Here's the truth most men learn too late. There are certain things a man should never do with a woman, not because it's manipulative or cold, but because it destroys your value, your peace, and your power. And guess what? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, left behind a blueprint, not directly about women, but about how a man should carry himself in the world. And when applied to relationships, these principles can transform how you deal with women, love, and even heartbreak. So before we dive in, take a second to subscribe to the channel and like this video, because the insights in this video are not just information. They're a guide to reclaim your masculine core. And if you watch this to the end, I promise, you'll never see dating and relationships the same way again. You'll walk away with a lens grounded in Stoic power. Let's build the context before jumping into the 9 things. The Roman emperor who understood power without force. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his most profound teachings were not about conquering land. They were about conquering the self. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now pause and think. How often do men give their power away to women? Not because of love, but out of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. Aurelius never told us to suppress love. He told us to not be a slave to desire. That's the key difference. So as we unfold these 9 things a man should never do with a woman, we're not teaching avoidance. We're teaching alignment with your highest self. 1. Never chase love that is not freely given. Have you ever loved someone so much that you were willing to do anything to keep them? You texted first every time. You called even when they didn't answer for days. You forgave things you said you'd never tolerate. And deep down you knew something wasn't right. But your heart kept saying, maybe if I just try a little harder. Sound familiar? If you're still here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're feeling that ache in your chest right now, you're not alone. This isn't just a video, this is your story, isn't it? Let's go back. There was once a girl you met. She was different, or at least she seemed that way. The way she smiled, the spark in her eyes. You thought, she sees me, she gets me. And maybe at the beginning she did. But then something shifted. Her replies slowed. Her tone changed. The warmth you once felt faded, and still you held on. You bought gifts. You sent long texts. You tried to remind her how much you cared, hoping she'd remember the man you were in the beginning. But Marcus Aurelius would have told you something powerful here. He would have looked you in the eye and said, reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. In other words, stop chasing love that's not being offered. Because in doing so, you're not only injuring your heart, you're injuring your dignity. My friend, love is not supposed to feel like a war for attention. If someone truly values you, they won't make you beg for scraps. They will match your effort. They will show up because they want to, not because you reminded them to. So I ask you now, why are you running after someone who walks away every time you take a step forward? Why are you trying to prove your worth to someone who should already see it? This isn't strength. This is fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not finding someone else. Fear that maybe, just maybe, you're not lovable unless you're constantly proving it. But that's a lie. You are not here to convince someone to love you. You are here to express love from a place of inner fullness. Aurelius ruled an empire and still understood. The only love worth having is the love that flows naturally, without force. So pause and breathe. Think of her, the one that got away, the one you're still clinging to in your mind. Would she still matter so much if you remembered who you really are? This is your story, yes, but you get to write the next chapter. And maybe, just maybe, it starts with walking away from someone who never truly chose you. 2. Never abandon your mission for a woman. Have you ever lost yourself in the process of loving someone else? Be honest. You started skipping the gym just to see her more. You paused your goals. You delayed your dreams. You even found yourself turning down opportunities, jobs, trips, passions, just so you could be there. All in the name of love, right? Let me tell you a story. Maybe it's yours. There was once a man, let's call him Daniel. Daniel had a dream, to start his own business, to build a life of purpose and impact. He was focused, disciplined, inspired, and then he met her. She was stunning, magnetic. Her energy filled the room. Being around her felt like magic. And slowly, that magic became his new mission. At first it seemed harmless. One missed meeting, one rescheduled training session, one more night staying up late just to text her, even though he had to wake up early. Then one day, Daniel looked in the mirror, and he didn't recognize the man staring back. He had become soft, unfocused, reactive, exhausted. His mission, forgotten. His identity faded, and the worst part? She didn't even respect him like she used to. Why? Because he had made her his purpose, when all she wanted was a man who already had one. Marcus Aurelius would have seen this coming. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." Daniel thought that sacrificing everything for her would make her stay. But in doing so, he sacrificed himself. Here's the lesson you can't afford to ignore. A woman does not want to be the center of your world. She wants to orbit a man who is centered in his own. And when you walk away from your mission just to make her happy, you lose the very thing that made her admire you in the first place. Women are drawn to direction, to discipline, to purpose, not because they're cold, but because deep down they know a man with a mission is a man who cannot be broken. So if you're listening to this right now, ask yourself, what's your mission? And have you abandoned it? That book you were going to write? That side hustle you were building? That fitness journey you started? Did it all stop the moment she walked into your life? You weren't born to orbit anyone. You were born to build, to create, to conquer, first yourself, then the world. So no, you don't have to choose between love and purpose, but you do have to put them in the right order. Your mission comes first, not because you're heartless, but because when your mission is strong, your love becomes stronger, healthier, and respected. So before we move to the next point, look within. Ask yourself, would the younger version of you be proud of the man you are now? Because your path, the one you almost gave up, is still waiting for you. And the right woman? She'll never ask you to leave it behind. 3. Never argue to win her approval. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation with a woman that somehow turned into a courtroom? She said something. You didn't agree. But instead of letting it go, you had to prove your point. You had to explain. You had to win her over. And before you knew it, you were no longer speaking to connect. You were speaking to convince. Sound familiar? Let me take you back to a night that changed everything for a man named Ayan. Ayan had been dating this woman, Layla, for almost 6 months. She was intelligent, sharp, opinionated, the kind of woman who would challenge your ideas just for fun. One night they were talking about something simple, politics, maybe a book, and she said something he disagreed with. He laughed lightly and shared his take. She raised her eyebrows, said, "That's ridiculous," and kept going. And something in Ayan snapped. He didn't yell, but he couldn't stop himself from proving her wrong. For the next 20 minutes, he defended his position. He quoted articles, referenced data, brought up examples, not because he wanted a better conversation, but because he wanted her approval. He wanted her to say, "You're right, Ayan, I see it now. You're brilliant." But she didn't. Instead, she grew cold, distant. Her tone shifted. Her attraction dimmed. Why? Because he stopped being a man in that moment and became a boy begging for validation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value, if none of them know anything about the subject." But let's take it deeper. Why do we argue to win someone's approval, especially a woman's? Because deep down we're afraid. Afraid that if we don't impress her, we'll lose her. Afraid that if we don't convince her, we're not enough. But here's what you have to understand. A woman doesn't fall in love with your opinions. She falls in love with your presence. When you argue for approval, you send one message loud and clear. I need you to agree with me so I can feel okay. And that's weakness. That's emotional insecurity dressed up as intellect. A strong man doesn't need to be right all the time. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't argue to win. He speaks his truth with calm certainty and lets it land. If she agrees, fine. If she doesn't, still fine. Because his value doesn't fluctuate with her reaction. A stoic man leads with grounded presence, not petty persuasion. So next time she challenges you, smile. Let her speak. And instead of trying to win her, let her feel the strength of a man who doesn't need to fight for acceptance. Because here's the truth. The more you try to win her approval, the more you lose her respect. And respect is the soil where real love grows. 4. Never let her emotions control yours. Have you ever been in a relationship where your mood depended on hers? She was smiling, so you were happy. She was cold, you panicked. She was upset. You felt like it was your fault even when it wasn't. If you're nodding right now, let me tell you, you're not alone. And this might just be your story. There was a man, let's call him Ishan. Ishan was a kind man, loyal, supportive. He loved deeply. But his one flaw? He made her emotions the thermostat for his entire world. When she was anxious, he absorbed her anxiety. When she was angry, he tried to fix it immediately, sometimes even apologizing for things he didn't do. When she cried, he dropped everything, work, gym, friends, just to try and make it better. And for a while, he thought that made him a good man, a romantic man. But what he didn't realize was that he was slowly drowning in her storms. Every time she had an emotional wave, he'd jump in and try to rescue her. But instead of saving her, he lost himself. Marcus Aurelius would have reminded him, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, her emotions are not your responsibility to absorb. Yes, be compassionate. Yes, be supportive. But never let her chaos become your chaos. Because when you do, you stop leading. You stop being grounded. You stop being masculine. You become reactive. And women are deeply repelled by emotional reactivity in men, even if they don't realize it consciously. A woman will test your emotional frame, not because she's cruel, but because she's wired to do so. She wants to feel your strength. She wants to see if she can trust you to be steady when she's not. So what happens when you flinch every time she cries or snaps or shuts down? You show her that she's leading the emotional ship. And no woman wants to be the captain of a sinking ship. Let me be brutally honest here. A man who can't regulate his own emotions will never be trusted by a woman. She may like you. She may even care about you. But she won't feel safe with you. And if she doesn't feel safe, attraction dies quietly in the background. So what do? When she's emotional, stay calm. When she's overwhelmed, breathe deeper, not faster. When she lashes out, don't take the bait. Be the eye of the storm, the grounded center she can rely on, even when she doesn't say it out loud. Because deep down, she craves a man who stays still when everything else shakes. So I ask you again, have you let her emotions control yours? If so, take your power back, not by dominating, but by mastering yourself. Never be a slave to her beauty. Have you ever looked at a woman and thought, she's too beautiful for me? Be honest. Because if you have, you know what it feels like to shrink in front of beauty, to doubt yourself, to chase, to put her on a pedestal so high you forget your own worth just trying to reach her. Let me tell you a story. Maybe it's your story. There was a man named Ravi. He was smart, ambitious, kind. But when he saw her, he felt something shift. She was stunning. Not just physically, but her presence, her elegance, her glow. She walked like the world belonged to her. And Ravi, he folded. He changed his tone. He overthought his texts. He laughed too hard at her jokes. He agreed when he didn't want to. He became a shadow of the man he used to be, all because her beauty made him feel small. Marcus Aurelius would have warned him, "You are a soul carrying a corpse." Translation: your worth is not in your face or frame. It's in your essence, your virtue, your mind. But Ravi forgot that. He made her look the center of his universe. And in doing so, he gave her the power to validate his existence. And she felt it. Women always do. See, here's the secret no one tells you. A woman knows when you're worshiping her beauty more than you respect yourself. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but slowly, quietly, she starts to lose respect for you. Why? Because she sees that you value her more than you value your own frame. And the moment a man starts acting like he's beneath her beauty, he becomes invisible in her eyes. Look, beauty is magnetic. That's human. But when you bow to it, when you believe it's your job to earn her just because she's attractive, you lose your masculine edge. Because real masculine energy doesn't chase beauty, it attracts it. A Stoic man walks into the room knowing this truth. Her beauty is a gift, yes, but so is his presence. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't overcompensate. He doesn't beg. He looks at her the way Marcus Aurelius looked at the stars, with wonder but without worship, because at the end of the day, beauty fades. But character, purpose, presence, that's what makes a man unforgettable. So I ask you, have you ever felt small next to a beautiful woman? If so, it's time to stop idolizing her outer shell and start honoring your inner core. Because when you know your own worth, You stop chasing beauty, and beauty starts chasing you. 6. Never expect her to complete you. Have you ever looked at a woman and thought, now that I have her, I'm finally whole? You might not have said it out loud, but maybe you felt it. You were struggling, drifting, a little lost, and then she came into your life like a sunrise. Suddenly you smiled more. You felt lighter. It felt like she filled a hole inside you that you didn't even know was there. But here's the uncomfortable truth, my friend. When you expect a woman to complete you, you're already broken. Let me tell you about Arjun. Arjun was a good man. Hardworking, smart, loyal. But beneath the surface he had wounds. Wounds from childhood, rejection, failure. And though he never showed it, deep down he felt empty. Then he met Zoya. She was sweet, nurturing, radiant. She gave him attention, softness, admiration. And for the first time in years, Arjun felt seen. He felt alive. But here's where it went wrong. He started depending on her to feel okay. If she didn't text back fast enough, his heart sank. If she didn't compliment him, he questioned his worth. If she was distant, he spiraled. Why? Because she wasn't just his girlfriend anymore. She had become his source of wholeness. But Zoya wasn't built to carry that weight. No woman is. And slowly she began to pull away. Not because she stopped caring, but because she started feeling like she wasn't loving a man. She was holding him up. Marcus Aurelius would have warned Arjun, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. That's the essence of Stoicism. You don't seek wholeness outside. You build it within. Women are not bandages for broken men. They are companions to whole men. When you walk into a relationship hoping she'll fix you, you place an invisible burden on her shoulders. And no matter how much she cares, eventually she'll feel it. She'll sense that you need her in a way that's not romantic, but desperate. And desperation is the death of desire. So here's the truth. She can add to your life. She can inspire you, support you, love you. But she should never be the reason you feel complete. Because when your soul is cracked, no amount of affection will patch it. You complete yourself through discipline, through purpose, through self-respect, through silence and struggle and growth. And once you become whole, you stop looking for someone to fill your gaps. Instead, you look for someone who's whole too. And together you build something beautiful. So let me ask you, are you looking for love or rescue? Because until you answer that honestly, you'll keep losing yourself in every woman you meet. 7. Never compromise your principles for intimacy. Have you ever caught yourself doing something that just didn't feel right, but you did it anyway? All because you wanted to keep someone close? Maybe you stayed silent when something bothered you. Or you agreed to things that made you uncomfortable, hoping that by giving in you'd be rewarded with love or acceptance. This is a trap many fall into, especially when intimacy is at stake. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Jason, entered a relationship that seemed perfect on the surface. But soon his girlfriend started demanding more and more from him. Time, attention, and emotional energy. At first, Jason wanted to be a good partner, so he worked late nights to cover her financial worries, gave up weekends with his friends, and even hid his true feelings to avoid conflict. He compromised his principles, thinking it was the price to pay for intimacy. Months passed and Jason felt increasingly lost. The man he was before the relationship, the one with clear boundaries, strong values and personal goals, was slipping away. The constant pressure to please made him doubt his worth and identity. What Jason didn't realize was exactly what the Stoics understood thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, famously said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the essence of integrity. Your principles are your moral compass, and when you compromise them for the sake of intimacy, you're essentially losing yourself. Intimacy built on bending. Your values is like a house on sand, unstable and vulnerable to collapse. It might feel easier in the short term to say yes when you want to say no, or to hide your true feelings for the sake of peace. But over time, this leads to resentment, loss of self-respect, and emotional exhaustion. Here's the truth. The right kind of intimacy doesn't ask you to sacrifice who you are. Real connection honors your values, your boundaries, and your authentic self. If someone truly cares for you, they will respect your principles, not try to change or erode them. Ask yourself, what are the values I will never compromise? What lines am I unwilling to cross even for someone I love? When you clearly define these boundaries, You guard your heart from unnecessary pain. Stoicism teaches us that strength is found in self-control and living according to reason and virtue. When you stand firm in your principles, you attract people who value and respect you, not those who want to take advantage of your kindness. So remember, never trade your integrity for temporary intimacy. Protect your inner compass, and you'll build relationships based on truth, respect, and lasting connection. 8. Never make her the center of your universe. Imagine this: you meet someone special, and suddenly she becomes your whole world. Every thought, every decision revolves around her. You cancel plans with friends, put hobbies on hold, and obsess over texts and calls. At first it feels exhilarating, like you've found the missing piece of your life. But slowly that excitement turns into something else: anxiety, dependence, and a loss of yourself. Let me tell you about a guy named Marcus, not the emperor, but a friend I once knew. When Marcus started dating Sarah, he was all in. He gave up weekend basketball games, stopped working on his side projects, and even neglected his health because Sarah wanted more of his time. He thought this was love, devotion, and sacrifice. But within months, Marcus realized something unsettling. His life had shrunk. Sarah wasn't just important, she was his universe. And when she had a bad day or pulled away, Marcus felt like he was losing himself entirely. This is a dangerous place to be. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." In relationships, this means protecting your inner peace by maintaining balance. When you make someone else the center of your universe, you give them power over your emotions, your mood, and your very identity. Why is that so risky? Because no one person can fulfill all your needs all the time. When you expect your happiness to depend solely on her, you set yourself up for disappointment. People have their own struggles, their own moods, and their own lives. If your emotional world revolves only around her, you become vulnerable to chaos when she's not available or when things go wrong. True strength comes from independence, emotional, mental, and even social. It's about having a full, rich life beyond the relationship. Your passions, friendships, goals, and self-respect must come first. That's the Stoic way. Cultivating your own character and virtue, regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean neglecting your partner or being distant. It means loving her without losing yourself. You can be deeply connected without losing your individuality. Ask yourself, am I living my own life or just orbiting someone else's? Do I have my own passions and purpose beyond this relationship? If the answer is no, it's time to recalibrate. Remember, the right partner will complement your universe, not consume it. She'll inspire you to grow but won't define your existence. So never make her the center of your universe. Instead, be the center of your own, and invite her to share in your world, not replace it. 9. Never let her actions define your worth. Have you ever felt crushed because she ignored your message? Canceled plans last minute or seemed distant for no clear reason? Maybe you found yourself replaying her actions over and over, questioning your value, wondering if you were enough. It's a painful place, and many men get trapped there, letting a woman's behavior control their self-esteem. I want to tell you a story about David, a guy I once knew. David was deeply in love, but his girlfriend's unpredictable behavior left him emotionally tossed around like a leaf in the wind. When she was attentive, he felt on top of the world. But when she withdrew or didn't respond, his confidence plummeted. He started measuring his worth by her mood swings and actions. One day, after she ignored his text for hours, David spiraled into doubt. Maybe I'm not good enough, he told himself. Maybe she doesn't really care. What David didn't realize then was what Marcus Aurelius taught centuries ago. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Your worth is not a reflection of someone else's behavior. It's something internal, rooted in your character, your virtues, your principles. When you allow her actions to define your value, you give away your power and become vulnerable to emotional turmoil. Think about this. Why should your self-esteem depend on someone else's choices or moods, which are often unpredictable and out of your control? People act based on their own issues, fears, or circumstances. Her actions say more about her than they do about you. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and judgments. You can't control how she treats you, but you can control how you respond. David learned this the hard way. It took time and self-reflection, but he eventually stopped chasing validation through her. Instead, he focused on building his own confidence, living by his values, and refusing to let external circumstances dictate his self-worth. When you embrace this mindset, you become unshakable. You no longer depend on her approval to feel whole. You understand that your value is inherent and not something she can give or take away. So the next time her actions hurt or confuse you, remember this: her behavior does not define you. Your worth is constant, unchanging, and entirely yours to own. Never let someone else's actions determine how you see yourself. Stand firm in your principles and build your identity from within. Because true confidence doesn't come from others. It comes from knowing who you are regardless of how the world treats you. If you want, I can help craft a powerful hook or closing statement to make this part really stand out in your video. Final words from the Emperor's wisdom. What does it mean to be a man in the 21st century? Not to dominate, not to suppress, but to be deeply grounded in something unshakable. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about dating, but he wrote about honor, self-command, and clarity. And those are the very traits women desire but rarely find. When you embody these 9 principles, you become the rarest kind of man, the one who doesn't seek control, because he already has it over himself. And that is irresistible. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.